Does it seem to you as if you're pretty much on the verge of finding this man?
Well, I wouldn't want to say that, Dave. We're hoping. We've got some good things working for us, but it takes time, and to be able to reach out and pluck this guy out of the air isn't done. In most murder cases, you'll find a motive, but of course this guy is just a killer, a mad killer, and you have no motive, so it makes it a little bit harder for us to track him down.
San Francisco was terrorized in the late 60s and early 70s by a man who called himself the Zodiac Killer.
Search goes on in San Francisco for the man known as the Zodiac Killer.
It's too early to tell yet if San Francisco has another freak killer on the loose. But 4 young women have died, and people are getting nervous.
In the late 1960s, Northern California was gripped by fear as a shadowy figure emerged, leaving a trail of death and mystery in his wake. Known only as the Zodiac Killer, this enigmatic individual struck fear into the hearts of the public with his brutal attacks and cryptic messages. The first victim of the Zodiac Killer was high school student David Faraday, who, along with his girlfriend Betty Lou Jensen, was gunned down on a chilly December night in 1968 at Lake Herman Road near Benicia. Their romantic evening turned tragic as the Zodiac approached their car and unleashed a barrage of gunfire, leaving them dead in their tracks. Just months later, on Independence Day, the Zodiac struck again at Blue Rock Springs Park in Vallejo. Darlene Ferrin and Michael Mageau became his next victims as he ambushed their car and opened fire, killing Ferrin and leaving Mageau gravely injured. The summer of 1969 saw another horrific attack at Lake Berryessa, where Brian Hartnell and Cecilia Shepard fell prey to the Zodiac's sadistic rampage. Tied up and stabbed repeatedly, they became symbols of the killer's unbridled brutality. Shepard tragically lost her life, while Hartnell narrowly escaped death. But it was the murder of cab driver Paul Stein in San Francisco that sent shockwaves through the nation. Stein's death marked the Zodiac's final confirmed attack, but his reign of terror was far from over. In a brazen move, he sent a letter to the San Francisco Chronicle, boasting of his crimes and threatening to target schoolchildren next. The investigation into the Zodiac Killer case was one of the most extensive and complex in American history. Multiple law enforcement agencies were involved, including local police departments in the San Francisco Bay Area, the California Department of Justice, and the Federal Bureau of Investigation, FBI. The cooperation between these agencies was crucial, given the killer's pattern of striking in different jurisdictions. Numerous suspects were identified and questioned in connection with the Zodiac case, but no one was ever definitively linked to the crimes. One of the most notable suspects was Arthur Lee Allen, a convicted child molester who matched the description of the killer provided by eyewitnesses. However, Allen consistently denied any involvement, and no conclusive evidence linking him to the crimes was ever found. Other suspects came to the attention of law enforcement over the years, including individuals with ties to organized crime and mental illness. However, the sheer volume of tips and the complexity of the case made it difficult for investigators to separate credible leads from false leads. Crime scenes were meticulously analyzed for evidence, including fingerprints, DNA samples, and ballistic evidence from the weapons used in the attacks. However, the Zodiac took precautions to avoid leaving behind definitive evidence, such as wearing gloves and cleaning up after the attacks. The Zodiac's cryptic letters and ciphers were a central focus of the investigation. Investigators analyzed these communications for clues and patterns that might help identify the killer. Some of the ciphers were solved, but others remain unsolved to this day, adding to the mystery surrounding the case. Despite exhaustive efforts by law enforcement agencies and amateur sleuths alike, the true identity of the Zodiac killer remains unknown.